Hello there, a wonderful day to you. My name is Robinson Orishemuminago Ariyo. I am the Egogo of Warri Kingdom. A couple of minutes ago, I came across an audiovisual done apparently by a young man of Edo ethnic extraction, which he titled The Controversy Surrounding the Emergence of the New Olu of Warri. I have carefully listened to that tape and find the need to put certain things straight. I feel this urge propelled by the injunction of Karl Marx when he said, and I quote, "To leave an error unrefuted is to encourage intellectual immorality." End of quote. Therefore, in order that the general public will not be left in the dark as to what the correct position of the customary law relating to succession, particularly with reference to the throne of the Olu of Warri, there is need for me to make this video. I would like to set up a background. I am a student of law, philosophy, and forensic psychology. Now, most of us out there did elementary government, and we do know, as a matter of fact, that before the arrival of the British colonialists, the Africans, indeed Nigerians, had settings of their own. They were organized in kingdoms, communities, and what have you. They had their rules, regulation, customs, and tradition. Now, with the arrival of the British colonialists, we eventually grew into accepting some of their custom and tradition. And so as at today, one of the sources of our laws is received English law. And in relation to this case in particular, so that we don't deviate too much, we have customary law. However, a customary law may be a law. For it to be applied and really enjoy the status of a law, it is required to pass certain tests which are contained both in the laws of the National Assembly as well as laws of these different states of the Federation of Nigeria. In this regard, I would like to refer to Section 18, subsection 3 of the Evidence Act 2011 as amended, which is a federal legislation. It recognizes and clearly provides that for a customary law to be applied to any given situation, it must pass a very critical test, which most law students refer to as the repugnancy test. This is a test which every customary law must pass through before they can be applied. What this simply says is that for a customary law to be applied, it must not be repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. And so, when you say a particular rule, regulation is a customary law, you are entitled to say so. But for you to say that it is an applicable customary law, you must satisfy yourself and the law that it has passed the repugnancy test, which is that of equity, natural justice, and good conscience. Now, let us further particularize it to our situation. We are talking about a kingdom that is well over 500 years old. And yet, we find a young man in Edo State making so much noise about a declaration, not even an edict. I would like to inform his ignorance by distinguishing between what a declaration is and what an edict is. Now, a declaration is not an edict. It's not an act of the legislature. It is an act of the executive. At best, you can call it an executive order that is backed up, that is given the permission to be as a result of a law that was made. And this explanation will become more important when we look at the procedure for amendment of a declaration as distinct from a procedure for amendment of a law. For you to amend a law, it necessarily will have to go back to the makers of that law or to the organ or institution that made that law, the legislative arm. That's why it's a legislative act. Now, it's also important for us to distinguish because there are certain terminologies that we have been using and might still have to use. One of which is edict. When you're talking about edict, you're talking about a law made at the state level during a military administration. And then, when you're talking about decree, it's a law made at the federal level during a military administration. Now, during civilian administration, what the national assemblies of the respective states make are simply called laws. And what the National Assembly does is called act. And so, for instance, you could have, and you do, as a matter of fact, have an act called the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, which is an act of the National Assembly. And then you have a law, the Administration of Criminal Justice Law, which is a law of the state legislators. So, we need to appreciate this because the gentleman, modeled up terminologies throughout the video. The document which the gentleman refers to as an edict is not an edict. Clearly written on the document to start with is, this is a declaration. A declaration made pursuant to Section 8 of the Traditional Rulers and Chiefs Edict of 1979. We must also appreciate the fact that that edict itself, pursuant to which the said declaration was made, are two different things. While the edict was made to enable the different kingdoms in Bender State, including Auchi, Bini, Agbo, Warri, and the other kingdoms, to be able to document, to codify their oral tradition with respect to the enthronement of their respective kings. The one we are talking about in Warri is specifically a declaration that was made pursuant to a provision in that edict. And the gentleman did say that the courts have no business with custom and tradition. That again is a demonstration of a lack of proper understanding of the position of the law. That is because, like I have said, you have Section 18, subsection 3 of the Evidence Act. And there is a customary court law of Bender State, which was domesticated in Delta State, Section 24 of that law, and Section 25. It's to the effect that before you can apply a customary law, that law must pass the repugnancy test. So, for a gentleman to make a video and ascribe so much powers to what should ordinarily not mean anything, as much as he ascribed to it, is for him to miss the mark. I am going to make further parts because I intend that these videos that I'm making in reaction to the gentleman's video should be short enough to be listened to and detailed enough to also address the issues at stake. I will proceed to touch on other aspects of his video. Thank you.